Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are here to talk about Heavy on It, which is Nicki Minaj's new record label. For years, people have been wanting her to make a record label, and it's finally come. So I want to walk you guys through a little bit more information about Heavy on It and some things we can hopefully expect from Nicki and her label in the future. So let's go ahead and get into it. Back in March, Nicki announced her new label, Heavy on It, which is a subsidiary label under Republic Records. Republic itself is owned by Universal Music Group. Nicki is signed to Republic as well as Young Money Entertainment and Cash Money Records. Universal Music Group is the parent company of Young Money and Cash Money. Some have called Heavy on It an imprint label under Republic, but this isn't necessarily true. Subsidiary labels have more legal responsibilities than an imprint label and operate as a business under the umbrella of another label. An imprint label is more of a brand that's associated with an artist signed to the major label that owns the imprint and is still managed by that major label. If you want to learn more about the breakdown of record labels, you can of course check out my recent video on independent artists where I explain all that. Nicki announced her new label in an episode of her Queen radio show. Initially, she didn't reveal the name, which she said she would do in the following show. However, Nicki named some of the artists on her roster. They include Fofie, rapper Tate Kobang, Rico Danna, and London Hill. Tate Kobang actually helped produce one of Nicki's most recent singles, Red Ruby to Sleaze. Tate signed with Nicki back in 2022 when murmurs first surfaced that she had started her own record label.
Well, I have a record label now.
Whoa!
Nicki claimed part of the reason for starting the label was to give back to artists who were coming up in the game. She understood how important it was for people with power and experience in the industry to take others under their wing. Nicki stated, "When I came in this game, I didn't have no paperwork with Lil Wayne, but he had us on tour, he had us in a studio, he was getting on my mixtapes. So I understand the importance of having somebody else doing the heavy lifting for you. I understand why people are coming out and they're so, microwavable, and they're here today and gone tomorrow because there's no structure. There's no real person that believes in them. That's like, nah, I'm gonna make it my business to see you shine." Nicki hesitated to start a label in the past because she didn't want to be responsible for ruining an artist's life or squandering their potential. And aside from just rap or only black people, Nicki said she intends to sign all types of artists. She announced Patty Duke, also known as Patty Lauren, as the first A&R signed to her label.
And because I believe so strongly in loyalty, and because I've spent my whole life giving to others that turn around and shit on me. Patty Duke is the first A&R on my label.
Oh my God.
A&R, which stands for Artisan Repertoire, has a big responsibility for the label. This is the division of record labels responsible for finding new talent, overseeing the recording process, marketing, and also ensuring artists receive proper development. This development could be in the form of singing or songwriting lessons, dance lessons, media training, or working on their stage presence. A&R execs have historically had a hand in determining musical trends, as their personal taste could create the next big star that other labels want to emulate. Ironically, Ice Spice has been cited several times regarding the importance of A&R, and none of this is a drag, I'm just speaking on what I've seen. Maybe a couple weeks ago, there was a popular tweet about Ice Spice where the person was using her as an example as to why artist development is important, especially for newer artists. A lot of people have been critical of Ice Spice's stage presence. This person wasn't hating on Ice Spice, but was actually criticizing her label for not helping her more with development before booking her for these large shows and festivals. A lot of people forget that record labels aren't intended just to promote an artist, but often offer a lot of valuable lessons in performing and entertaining. And often, if you blow up on the internet and then get shoved in front of a crowd, you just aren't yet equipped to deliver your best performance. And to be fair, Ice Spice is not the only example of this, but I have noticed that she's the example a lot of people have liked to use recently. On April 13th, Nicki revealed on the Queen radio show that her new label was called Heavy on It. The announcement came the day before Ice Spice's Princess Diana remix dropped, which Nicki features on. Nicki shouting out Heavy on It at the beginning of the song fueled speculation as to whether Nicki signed Ice Spice to Heavy on It. Currently, Ice Spice is signed to indie label 10,000 Projects, whose parent company is Universal Music Group. As of September of 2022, Ice Spice is also signed to major label Capitol Records, whose parent company is also Universal. Aside from the fact that they had collaborated together, some people thought that Nicki signed Ice Spice because both 10,000 Projects, Capitol, and Heavy On It were listed as distributors for the Princess Diana remix. But again, just because an artist uses the label to distribute, this doesn't mean that they're signed to them. The name for Heavy On It comes directly from the phrase which Nicki has been using for a while now. The label's name has been called a direct reference to Nicki's newest alter ego, Queen Sleaze. Nicki has described Queen Sleaze as more calm but way more deadlier. It seems we can't expect more of Queen Sleaze in Nicki's 5th album, which is said to be released this year. Some people were upset that Nicki didn't name the label something like Pink Friday Records or Queen Records or anything related to her Barbie alter egos. But I think Heavy On It makes sense as it's associated with Nicki, but it isn't super on the nose. Also, it's possible and probably likely that she couldn't choose some of those other names due to trademarks. Uproxx pointed out that it was unlikely Ice Spice was signed with Nicki because it's rare that an artist ends a major label contract so soon after signing it. In addition, when artists sign with multiple labels, it's typically because they've already signed with an indie or a smaller label and then go on to sign with a bigger one. This is basically what Ice Spice did when she signed with 10,000 and then went on to sign with Capitol. They claimed it was likely Heavy On was included not only because Nicki was on the song, but also to ensure that she and her label received maximum profits from the Princess Diana remix, which makes sense. The Princess Diana remix quickly shot to #1 on iTunes, which extended Nicki's record as the rapper with the most #1s on the platform. When it dropped, Nicki, her label, and the remix of course were trending on Twitter, leading her to occupy the top 3 spots on the US trending page. Ice Spice has been a longtime fan of Nicki, and so the collaboration was everything she wanted and more. For the past couple months, Nicki has shown Ice Spice love and support on social media. Last week, when they were promoting their song on Instagram, Ice Spice captioned a post, "Ayo ISIS," which got taken down by Instagram for violating community guidelines. Yes, ISIS is the name of a terrorist group, but it's also a given name, and it's Ice Spice's name. Though the pair of New York rappers are enjoying the success of their hit collaboration, it doesn't seem like Ice Spice is one of Nicki's artists just yet, if she ever will be. Nicki only ever phrased their working together as a partnership. When she announced the label on Queen Radio, she said, "Heavy On It is the label, and I'm proud to announce my partnership with the one and only Ice Spice." A partnership with and being signed to a label aren't the same thing. Most news outlets are just calling it a partnership, which is what it is, but several people on Twitter and other social media have run with it and are saying Nicki signed Ice Spice. I suppose a partnership between an artist and label can look a lot of different ways, and we don't know the nature of their partnership just yet. But Heavy On It isn't listed as one of the labels Ice Spice is signed with, and I'm sure if she was, Nicki or Ice would have outright said that by now. It's also likely it would have been included in the announcements with the other artists on Nicki's roster, since that news only broke about a month before their collaboration. But hopefully the partnership does mean that we can expect more music or collaborations between them in the future. Recently, the pair dropped the extendo version of the Princess Diana remix, as well as an EP with other versions of the remix. It seems that partnerships between artists and labels will only become more common. Some have referred to it as a way for artists to work with labels, yet maintain more flexibility in their careers. Sarah Scott, the managing partner of music industry law firm LaPolte Law, says that partnership deals might just be the future of the music business. Scott says partnership deals provide more equity between an artist and a record label, and often allow for everyone's contributions to be treated with equal value. It often also ensures that the artist is able to profit adequately from their work, especially since artists are less likely to be taken advantage of by a label they aren't signed with. Still, despite their potential benefits, Scott warned artists to make sure they aren't being taken advantage of in their partnership contracts. Artists can potentially sign on to a 50-50 partnership or whatever breakdown and then actually not get that because the label or corporation might charge fees for distribution and other assistance they provide the artist. With streaming, Scott has said it's become a main goal of artists and their lawyers, of course, to make sure they receive the fair share of revenue from their music. Regardless, I am interested to see if anything more comes from this partnership between Nicki's label and Ice Spice. Because, like I said, a partnership with Ice Spice and Heavy On It could really mean several things. Nicki's most recent release is Alone, her collaboration with Kim Petras. At the time I'm recording this, only snippets have been released officially. However, the entire song was leaked before its April 21st release, so several people, including myself, have already heard it. Alone samples the 90s classic Better Off Alone and taps into the synth pop sound both Nicki and Kim have used in the past. According to Genius, Alone will also be released through Heavy On It. So it stands to be seen whether all of Nicki's future releases will be through her label, or at the very least if her label will help distribute. I did notice Heavy On It isn't associated with WTF, Nicki's most recent collab with NBA Youngboy. I'm not sure why, but it could have been as simple as the song being recorded or all of the logistics being worked out before Nicki was ready to launch the label. Even if all her features aren't released through Heavy On It, it's likely all of her future songs where she's the main artist will come through her label. I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume that this will also be the case for Nicki's 5th album whenever it comes. I think having a record label is a great move for Nicki, or honestly any artist of her caliber, because once you sort of move into sort of legendary icon status, you don't want to be giving everyone handouts, but sometimes it is sort of smart to also pivot into the mentor role. And I also think it's really smart to eventually extend into the back end of music, because often that's where the really, really big money is and where the big business happens. And that doesn't mean that you have to retire or leave music. So it's like you might as well do both if you have the capacity and if you're, honest about wanting to help other artists come up. So as always, do be sure to let me know your thoughts on Nicki's record label and what you want to see from her music in the future in general. And of course, let me know your thoughts on the Princess Diana remix with Ice Spice and your thoughts on Alone. I will say I'm not a huge fan. I think the sample could have been used better, so I really don't see myself streaming it again, which, that's great because that means Dr. Luke gets less streams from me. As always, thank you all so very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can stick around for more. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter so that you can keep up with me there. And if you would like to become a channel member, the link is in the video's description. As always, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.